During this video we're gonna see one of the best arcades of all time. It was released in 1994. It was the peak of the technology of the arcades, and I'm gonna tell you why. DualSense, yes, the wheel moves and shakes and whatever in the middle of the game. LAN parties, you can have 8 cabins all together connected to have one big game with friends and stranger people. 60 FPS of rendering of 3D images, and you have reflecting surfaces. Also, if you are a hard trier, as the last Yasuo that I had in my last ranked, and if you crash your car long enough, your car won't be able to move so fast. So we're talking about Daytona USA, and as always we're gonna start from the beginning. Sega was one of the best creators of arcades of all time, and I can tell you why. Before all that war that you have with the Mega Drive, Dreamcast, Saturn and all the stuff that was a disaster at the end, Sega was amazing building arcades. I can tell you of one really big arcade that I'm super proud of being able to play it. I was able to play the Periscope game. The Periscope game, you're watching this video, it's the only video that I found from Periscope. I think it's 1975. That game, it didn't have any screens or any television or nothing. It was completely like a theater or whatever. You have projections, you have shadows. That game I played once. I think I lost, but I was able to sing just one boat. That was amazing. And I played in 1980s, so it was a really old game, but it was I don't know why I played that, but I remember the Periscope appeared in several arcade places. Also, we need to remember a little bit of arcade places. There weren't a really nice place to a boy, most of the cases. Depending in which country you were living, but most of the cases were shady guys, people smoking, of course. You can smoke inside a plane in the 90s, even in the hospitals. But Sega was developing an amazing arcades, different one from another. For example, you have the Outrun. I need to name someone special for this kind of creation. Yu Suzuki. Yu Suzuki was the creator of, and not the creator, the main director of Daytona USA, but he also was part of he was the main developer of Outrun, Virtua Fighter, and he was one of the creators of Shenmue. Shenmue was a really nice game, but he didn't have the reception that they were waiting for, but they created this idea of moving around, talking with people, something like a Zelda experience, isn't it? Well, something like that. Yu Suzuki was a really young guy when he started to work on Sega around 1983. He started to work in the Sega apartments or places, I don't know. It's the Sega place. He was an electronic engineer. He wasn't a developer. Actually, he started to develop inside Sega. That was amazing. In that time, we didn't have any software engineers. Most of them, they were something like electronic engineer that they started to develop. They started to create games and video games. That was an amazing era. Now we have the software engineers that we don't create any games. In that time, I remember to play the Outrun. It had one version that was 360 or something. I wasn't able to find any picture. I think it was something modified, because in that time it was I'm talking about the 90s. If you are not listening to this video, everybody can make something like a crafting arcade. So there was some version of arcade of Outrun that you can move your wheel and the whole structure moves with you. And also I remember one version of Outrun that you had the car and you can sit on it and you can drive the car that is inside, but not the car outside, because it's a video game. In 1992, it was released the Virtua Racing. The Virtua Racing, it already have a bunch of stuff that were quite new for that time. I didn't know that it shakes the wheel. I think it wasn't the situation inside the Virtua Racing stuff, but it was 3D. In that time, we didn't have really big computers to have 3D stuff. We have semi-rendered 3D stuff, for example, Donkey Kong Country, Country, of course, or Earthworm Jim, that also was pre-rendered images that they look like 3D, but they're not. Or, for example, the much more bigger example of our time of pre-rendered images, Mortal Kombat, that you have people photograph in different positions and you create the templates. I think, oh my god, I should be the expert right now, but I think Virtual Racing had just one map. Let me check. No, Virtual Racing had 3 maps. Yes, I remember just playing one. Also, Virtual Racing was released for Sega Mega Drive. It was expensive game. I remember to play it, but Sega Mega Drive didn't have the same processor technology that had the arcade, so it wasn't the best game. I didn't like it in Sega Mega Drive because I'm still talking about the 90s, 92, 93, 94. 94 was the release of Virtual Racing. 93 in Japan, they released the Daytona. 94 was released to the worldwide. But we were playing this kind of games that were the peak of the technology. I'm talking about the Sonic 3. I'm a really big fan of Sonic. I played Sonic 3 when it was released. I love Sonic 3. I think it's the best. But when Daytona was released, it has a bunch of features that no other games had. For example, I can give you one example. The Afterburn R360, it has a really big cabin that moves the whole stuff. Actually, you need to have an operator to play that game like 20 seconds because it moves the whole stuff. Even you have an emergency button to say, oh my god, help me, I am about to die. This was the kind of technology that Sega was developing in that time. They were incredible. And Yu Suzuki, that was the creator of all these marvelous games that were incredible. And I'm talking too much right now. Daytona USA, at least the first track, the 3.7 Speedway, that was the easiest of all. It had 3 tracks. I remember that was the easiest one, and it was a little bit difficult. The main idea of the game is that you need to be moving and try to reach the other competitors and whatever. Every time that you find a checkpoint, they're going to give you an amount of seconds and you can keep playing. But you can only keep playing to the next track. If you're in the first position, you can keep playing. If not, you're done. I never won one single race in the Daytona USA. I can tell you something else about this amazing game. You have something that was incredible. First, you have a Sonic in the middle of the speedway. That was amazing. 3D rendered Sonic that appeared in the middle of the nothing. But there is a really big trick that every single player of Daytona USA has, is that if you look the Sonic, you're gonna smash it in the next curve. That everybody knew that. You should never look at the Sonic. And remember that I was a really big fanatic of Sonic. Every time that I say, oh my god, Sonic! Boom! I smash against the wall. You have a bunch of stuff. For example, the car, the Hornet, that was the name of the car, didn't exist in the real life. The creators of the team, they tried to reach NASCAR to create the NASCAR idea of the game, but it wasn't possible. But Daytona, it was simple because you have the Daytona race in USA, but it wasn't registered as Daytona because Daytona is a place. So I can put a name, I don't know, Amsterdam, USA. Well, that will be a really nice racing game in Amsterdam that you don't have any places to run. But who cares? Besides that Sonic's experience, it also had a bunch of Easter eggs inside of it. For example, you have the jackpot. The jackpot, when you press the start button and you align the 777, you gonna hear some funny stuff that says, oh, congrats, you're a good gamer, completely distracted, not paying attention to the game, and you obviously gonna crash after that. You have some other stuff because if you crash, your car is going to be destroyed or at least damaged. That was super new for that time, because if you crash in any racing game of that time, you're not going to have any penalties or any issues or nothing, because in Daytona USA, if you crash your car won't be able to reach the higher levels of speed. The idea of being a try-harder and crashing and whatever is not going to be a really nice idea. You should be playing safe to reach the better levels of the game and to be a little bit more competitive. You also have drifting before PS1. Yes, you can drift and your wheel is going to shake. It shakes when you crash, it shakes when you're driving. That was an amazing feeling because we weren't able to have this experience of that time. The DualSense was released in 1998 for PlayStation 1. It was something super revolutionary. It wasn't the first time. The PlayStation 1 was the first releaser of the shaking joysticks. Joypads? We can say joysticks. Or DualSense. Nowadays, it's impossible to have the idea of a game that doesn't shake. Even if your game is not shaking, for example, I think some of them they're not shaking and they're not so good. If you're here watching this video, please put in the comment which game is not shaking in the stuff. Silksong shakes? I think yes. But nowadays everything shakes. That didn't sound good, isn't it? In that time, you didn't have online gaming because internet exists, but not in that level. It wasn't possible. The only technology that we had in that time was the dial-up technology. So we're talking about a really old technology. The Daytona USA, you can connect until 8 different arcades. Actually, it's 4 different arcades because every of those they already have 2 of them. That time was also available the 2 racing stuff without divided screen, because also in that time when you're racing with someone else you need a divided screen, not in the arcades but maybe in your house. How much it cost the Daytona USA in that time? You have different views. You have the views inside the car, outside the car, a little bit higher. That was completely new. You have 60 FPS of rendering. You have reflecting shades, and you have a stereo in your seat. And also your seat, you can move it around. If you're not comfortable enough in your seat, you can move up and down. That was amazing. So how much it costs? Maybe you can have a car for it. Yes. The cost of having one arcade of Daytona USA was around $30,000. And OMG, who is going to be crazy enough to buy a Daytona USA arcade? Well, everybody. It was one of the most profitable games of all time. Actually, they say that if you buy one of those in 1 month, you will be able to receive all the money that you spend in the machine. I don't think so. 25 cents? No, was a little bit more expensive. Because, of course, it's the best game ever. In most places, they didn't buy it, they just rented. It was super common to rent that game because it was super expensive for much of the people that they have some kind of shady places like arcade and all the stuff. And the main question, it will be, can I buy Daytona USA nowadays? Yes. There's some of them in eBay, and I wasn't able to find any of those in Amazon, but in eBay you can buy those. The big problem, if you want to buy one of those, they're not so expensive. $3,500 is not so expensive for something that is a piece of history of ever and is completely amazing. And the main problem that you have with this kind of system is it's really hard to find people that can maintain the machine. That's something you need to think about that, because if you're going to buy it, you need to maintain it. So most of the people that they have this kind of machines, they have abilities to repair the machine. If you're good in mechatronics or electronic, that would be nice if you can, if you want to buy one of those, call me and we can ride it. But also you need another stuff. You need to have a really big house and you need to be single. Spending $3,500 in just one game, your wife is gonna kill you. And it takes I can buy one of them, but I don't have the space or the abilities. So this was the whole video, the best arcade ever of all time. Some of them they're still working until today. So guys, thank you for being here. Keep here, subscribe, like, do whatever all the subscriber YouTubers like to do, and fijne dag.